Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. 19 people were executed by hanging during the 1692 Salem witch trials, with a 20th, Giles Corey, pressed to death in an attempt to force a confession. Corey never pled guilty or not guilty, knowing that any plea could result in his property being seized, leaving his heirs with nothing. For years, it was believed that the victims were hanged at the summit of Gallows Hill and their bodies buried together in a shallow pit, as convicted witches were not allowed burial in consecrated ground. However, this story, while long upheld by tradition, has proven to be somewhat inaccurate. Although traditions often hold a kernel of truth, the real story can sometimes become obscured over time. Thanks to modern research, the true location of the hangings and the likely fate of the victims' bodies has been uncovered, offering important insights for genealogists with Salem roots. As it turns out, the executions did not occur at the summit of Gallows Hill, as was long believed, but near the base of the hill, on a rocky outcropping called Proctor's Ledge. Today, Proctor's Ledge sits in a residential neighborhood with commercial buildings nearby. Longtime residents had suspected for years that the ledge might be the actual site of the hangings, and new research has confirmed it. Interestingly, the land was purchased by Thorndike Proctor, the son of witch trial victim John Proctor, after the trials had ended. There is no evidence that any executions took place on Proctor's Ledge, either before or after 1692, indicating that this site is uniquely tied to the witch trials. Researchers utilized a variety of methods to pinpoint the location of the hangings, using snippets of eyewitness testimony from the trial documents, combined with old and new maps, satellite imagery, and ground-penetrating sonar. They were able to confirm that Proctor's Ledge was indeed the site. The few eyewitness accounts that exist, describing where people stood when they observed the executions, were key to this discovery. Based on their descriptions, the summit of Gallows Hill would have been invisible from their vantage points. In addition, hauling prisoners and wagons to the summit would have been impractical, and the town's leaders would have wanted the executions to be as visible as possible to the public. These factors made the lower, more accessible Proctor's Ledge the most likely location. As for the manner of execution, there is no evidence of gallows being built on Proctor's Ledge. The small, rugged outcropping would not have been suitable for constructing gallows, and no remnants of such a structure have been found. Given these facts, researchers believe the convicted individuals were hanged from trees. Furthermore, no bodies were found at the site through ground-penetrating sonar, which makes sense, as the rocky soil would have been too shallow to accommodate even a single grave, let alone the burial of 19 people. So what happened to the bodies of those executed? According to tradition, the sons of Rebecca Nurse, one of the convicted witches, secretly retrieved her body after the execution and buried it in the family cemetery. There is a headstone for Rebecca Nurse there today, though it was erected long after her death. Similarly, the family of George Jacobs, another victim of the trials, reportedly removed his body from the execution site and buried it on their farm. This claim was confirmed in 1864 when Jacobs' remains were discovered on the property. In 1992, his body was reburied in the Nurse Family Cemetery in Danvers, Massachusetts, as part of the 300th anniversary of the trials. Given the lack of any bodies at the execution site, it seems likely that all of the victims were removed by their families and buried privately on their family property. This new understanding provides descendants of those involved in the trials with a clearer picture of where their ancestors may have been laid to rest. For genealogists, this discovery is significant. Descendants of those who were executed can now visit Proctor's Ledge, the actual location of the hangings, and honor their ancestors there. The city of Salem is already planning a memorial for the site, which will likely be modest, in keeping with the residential nature of the neighborhood. For those with witch trial ancestry, standing at the site offers the chance to reflect on a pivotal moment in history and to connect with the final place their ancestors saw on earth. The likelihood that families privately buried the victims on their own land also provides genealogists with a new avenue for research. By studying old maps and land records, descendants may be able to identify the locations of former family farms and discover where their ancestors' final resting places might be. With the revelation of Proctor's ledge as the true site of the executions, genealogists now have more information than ever before about what really happened to their witch trial ancestors, bringing a fuller understanding of their family history into view. The following resources provide additional context and detail for anyone researching the Salem witch trials or tracing their ancestry back to this dark chapter in American history. The Salem Witch Trials, A Day-by-Day Chronicle of a Community Under Siege by Marilyn K. Roach. This comprehensive book provides an in-depth day-by-day look at the Salem witch trials, offering insights into the community and the events that unfolded during the crisis. A Storm of Witchcraft, The Salem Trials and the American Experience by Emerson W. Baker. Emerson Baker explores the cultural and historical context behind the Salem witch trials, examining how they fit into the larger tapestry of American history. In The Devil's Snare, The Salem Witchcraft Crisis of 1692 by Mary Beth Norton. This critically acclaimed book dives into the social, political, and religious factors that contributed to the witchcraft crisis, making it an essential read for anyone researching the trials. Thanks for spending time with me on the Ancestral Findings podcast. I always enjoy sharing these stories, tips, and discoveries with you. If you haven't already, head over to ancestralfindings.com, where you can download a free genealogy ebook, request a free lookup, and of course enter to win the next book giveaway. It's been an incredible journey together since 1995, and your support through these past 29 years means more to me than words can express. I'm so grateful for this wonderful community of genealogy enthusiasts who continue to inspire me every day. Keep up the great work on your family history research, and may your next find be as exciting as your first. Thank you again for being part of this journey, and as always, happy searching.